You are Locked On Pistons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Man, a frustrating one this afternoon into the evening at Little Caesars Arena. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons postcast. Detroit falling to Houston 101-99. We're going to break it all down. My name is Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And this is a live Locked On Pistons postcast. Thanks as always for making us your post-game destination, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, on YouTube, it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And don't forget, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. That's right. Introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, your one-stop ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Today's episode is made possible by our friends over at Game Time. That's right. The Locked On Pistons postcast is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Now, 101-99, the final in this one felt like a winnable game, and it felt like a game where maybe this is who this Detroit Pistons team is, because it was Cade Cunningham and it was nobody else. And I'm maybe not quite ready to declare this an emergency that Cade Cunningham needs some freaking help. But today it was very evident. And later in that third quarter, he goes out, the Rockets go on a run, and really they never looked back after that. Without Cade in the game, the Rockets found their rhythm, they got in the groove, and they really put this game in the balance when Cade Cunningham was not in the game, because nobody else really played. I wouldn't get too dramatic and say nobody else played worth a you-know-what, but it was Cade versus everybody else tonight. And unfortunately, the comeback bid falls just a little bit short. Now, I do like the way the Pistons played in that fourth quarter, especially compared to that third quarter. But you look at this box score, and my goodness, that third quarter, 19 points for the Pistons in that frame. 19 points. Of course, Jalen Green had the dunk, and he was hit with a technical, by the way, after that posterizing dunk, but still worth pointing out that really helped spark this Rockets team just in terms of the energy that they played with after that. And a lot of guys caused a lot of issues for the Detroit Pistons. You saw Sengun go for 27 points without Duren in the lineup. There just really was no answer at that position for the Detroit Pistons. And that's going to be something we have to continue to monitor with this team, is can they find a way to defend bigs? And unfortunately, and albeit a very small sample size, without Duren in the lineup, you get a little bit concerned that there's not only in need of reinforcements, but there might not be any reinforcements to begin with. You know, who is somebody that can step up and play defensively for this Detroit Pistons team and to defend some bigs? But overall, some other trends, just a really poor offensive performance from the jump for this Pistons team. 17 points in the first quarter. Fortunately, they played pretty good defense. I will say this too, just in terms of overall reaction to this game, overall game trends, it's refreshing to watch this team play harder and play better defense. And it just looks so much different with a coach that cares, and a coach that is at a point where you feel like he's at least getting the most out of guys. And that's not to just, talk so much trash about the previous head coach, but JB Bickerstaff is doing a phenomenal job. And I think even though the Pistons fell short tonight, there's a concerted effort. There's more ownership. There's a level of care that you didn't see in years past with this Detroit Pistons team. But final tonight, 101-99 with the loss. Pistons fall to 4-7. Now 2-4 at home. Rockets now 6-4 and 3-2 on the road. You look at the upcoming schedule for the Pistons, and we've talked about this. I know I missed a few postcasts with some of my other broadcasting duties this week, so I wasn't able to hop on after that Hornets loss or that Hawks win. But looking at the schedule, you've got a couple of tough ones coming up here, although the Bucks have been a shell of themselves. But the Heat on Tuesday night, the Bucks on Wednesday night, the Raptors Friday night, and then the Wizards on Sunday. You feel good about your chances to win some of those games there. But big night for the city of Detroit against Houston, right? Because later on we've got the Lions and the Texans on Sunday Night Football. So, of course, we'll have a Locked On Lions postcast. Make sure you stick around for that later this evening after Sunday Night Football as well. Although this one was played in the Motor City. Let's get to a couple of your comments. We got people joining the stream, which we appreciate that. So let's get to your comments on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. We begin with Demetrius McNeil saying nightmare game for Jaden Ivey. Yeah, I think that's worth touching on because Jaden Ivey was really, really bad tonight. There's not a lot of other ways to break it down. I guess we can start with the field goal percentage, 4 of 15, 0 for 4 from deep. You needed something from Jaden Ivey, and I was really excited, and rightfully so, really excited after the way Cade and Jaden played in that win over the Lakers. And again, that was the last time I was on with some other things going on, but you thought, wow, this can be a backcourt duo that we really are excited to see in the Motor City. But tonight, it just was not that way in any capacity. I mean, 4 of 15, -3 when he was on the floor. And just in general, I don't think he played with the same level of confidence. He didn't defend as well. And you saw where Jaden Ivey, I don't want to say cost this team, but certainly did not help this team and put forth a winning effort. There's no doubt about that. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights says, good afternoon, Mr. My City. That one was rough. Free throws and rebounds is the next comment. I don't disagree with that. And I was listening to some of the radio broadcasts with Mark Champion and Rick Mahorn, and sometimes you get different perspective. So I'll go back and forth between the TV broadcasts and the radio broadcasts. And they talked about how physical that game was. And the TV broadcast mentioned it as well. But in the first half especially, it was such a physical game that both these teams were playing. And I think that should benefit the Pistons, and that should be, something that this Pistons team can rally around and get on board with. But it didn't go their way in the third quarter. And I don't think, I think, and I go back to the technical foul on Jalen Green. I think that was a quick whistle. I don't necessarily think that was warrant of a technical foul, because I mean, he posterized Cade. There's no doubt about it. And if you're going to look back in his direction, that's going to warrant a technical. I mean, Rick Mahorn was like, if that's a technical foul, then I can do a 360 dunk, which I thought was a hilarious line. There's no doubt about it. A couple more comments from Mr. My City. 5 more minutes for Holland, and I think we may have got it. Yeah, I would like to see Holland play a little bit more, especially as you start. And, we're still in that, that was the Pistons' 11th game. They're 4-7, so you're still kind of, I don't want to say figuring out the rotation, but you're working through, what that rotation will look like and that sort of thing. And so for Holland tonight, let me get the box score in front of me. He played 13 minutes. Beasley, I was texting with a friend about this one. Shout out to my guy, Trevor Davis. But Beasley, I think, is playing too much. He has not been good. He doesn't defend well. He has been a volume shooter that I guess at times has been okay, but not to the point where his playing time yields the amount that he is getting. So I'm not out on Beasley yet, but I would like to see him play a little bit better. Moses Rios says, wish Thompson was healthy. Yeah, I agree. I mean, health is certainly a factor and part of the conversation. Yes, obviously with Duren as well. That definitely puts the Pistons kind of behind the 8 ball in sense of just having players available that can help this team win when they're already, and I don't want to say, they're already lacking a ton of depth, but I think that is in fact fair to say. Mr. My City, Jalen Green has been waiting for that dunk for 3 years. Wish we would have won. Yeah, he has. Sometimes you tip your cap to the opposition, and it sucks having to do that, but Jalen Green had been waiting for that moment for sure. But lots going on a Locked On Pistons postcast live here on Locked On Sports Detroit. As always, it's so great to be with you on Locked On Sports Detroit, whether you're listening live, watching live on YouTube, or catching the audio only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We certainly appreciate you making Locked On Pistons your choice. 99-101 the final in this one, or 101-99 I should say. Pistons fall 4-7 on the season, 2-4 overall. A couple other observations. Tobias Harris gives up 2 straight extra possessions buckets in down the stretch when it mattered most. And I don't want this to turn into a pick on Tobias Harris podcast, but 9 points and just really in 35 minutes, 3 of 5 from the floor and 2 of 5 from the free throw line. And as somebody said it in the comments that too many missed free throws, I would agree with that. When you shoot 16 for 23 from the free throw line and win by 2, that's a tough pill to swallow, because there's certainly 2 points you could have had more at the free throw line just based on the volume that you shot. So that is certainly worth a discussion as far as, can we get more out of Tobias Harris? I certainly think so. And unfortunately, he was not great tonight. But we'll continue breaking this one down. We'll talk about how Cade can't do it alone. That was a big observation I had this afternoon, whatever you want to call it, watching this game, and how the Pistons can improve moving forward. And we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on a Locked On Pistons postcast. This episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. America's #1 sportsbook is FanDuel. Right now, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and so much more, all in one place. You gotta love that. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. It all happens at FanDuel.com. Live odds always available as well. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. Okay, can we get Cade Cunningham some help? That is what a lot of this boils down to, because he didn't have it today. There is no doubt about it. And I know it wasn't another triple-double, but it was pretty dang close. 36 minutes, 10 of 21 from the floor, 2 of 4 from the long line, 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds and 9 assists. And for the Pistons, when he left the game in that third quarter, the dynamics of this game just completely changed. Around the 3-4 minute mark, game was tied, and then the Pistons end the quarter down by 8. And I know that's only one little moment to point to, but I just think it signifies where this team is at when the other supporting cast doesn't play well. And without Cade, and when the supporting cast is having a down night, there's nowhere for JB Bickerstaff and this coaching staff to turn. I mean, there has to be guys like Tobias Harris, like Jaden Ivey, and the list goes on, that can weather the storm without Cade Cunningham in there. So this team isn't as dependent on just Cade being the only guy that contributes to and makes winning plays. Tim Hardaway Jr. tonight, not as much of an impact, just the 10 points. And this is just one guy. And it is one of those times where just about everybody picked to have an off night besides Isaiah Stewart. He was a little bit better, 7 of 9 from the floor. He did have 16 points. And in a starting role, I thought, he brought his A game, 8 rebounds, maybe like to see a little bit more, the 2 blocks. And he's a guy that is going to play physical. I think the way the refs were calling this game benefited his style of play. That's for sure, because he was able to get in and bang around. And that being said, though, there still has to be better defense from this team collectively on the interior to not let some of the, those stretch fours or big guys and then the fives turn up as much as the Rockets guys did this evening against the Pistons. That being said, I know I talked about Sengun's 27 points. But Brooks was another one in there that he plays with an edge. He plays feisty, Dylan Brooks, that is. And that's part of who this Rockets team is. And I think it's the same style that the Pistons try to bring night in and night out. So in all of that, I think we expected a low scoring, close game in this one. And that's exactly what we got. 101-99, the final in this one. And, for the Pistons to turn it around, I think the schedule, hosting the Miami Heat on in the group stage of the NBA Cup. I don't know how into that everybody is, but this being the second year, of course, that this is all coming into form with the NBA. I'm sure we can talk more about that when it's actually here. But hey, it's November basketball. Let's I know there's an effort from the NBA to switch it up and to make the regular season mean more. And this is just one way that they could go about it. I will say the courts for the Pistons in this setting will look cool. And that last year was not necessarily the case, but we'll wrap it up with studs and duds, the final segment of the program on this live Locked On Pistons postcast. Although it's just the first of 2 episodes of the Locked On Sports Detroit page this afternoon and this evening, because the Lions will be on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans. So Lions looking for their 8th win of the season at 7-1. What a year it's been for them. So make sure you stick around and join us for our post-game coverage of that as well. It all happens on the Locked On Sports Detroit network, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. One more comment before we tie a bow on it. Moses Rios, are the Pistons ever going to get a blowout win this season? I wonder the same thing, my friend. I certainly do. It would be nice, right? Pistons, all of their wins have come in close games. And let me rattle that off real quick because, you look at the games that the Pistons have actually won. They got the 10-point win over Philadelphia on October 30th, 105-95. Big win over the Nets, 106-92. That was last Sunday. And then the nice win over the Lakers, 115-103. And then the 1-point win over the Hawks, 122-121. So really only the one close game, but one close win, I should say. But the Hornets, that's a close loss. Rockets, that's a close loss. And then the other losses were pretty well handed to them. I guess the Celtics game was pretty close down until the very end. Same with the Pacers game, the 115-109 final to start the season. But deep breath. We will take one more break and then we will tie a bow on it with our studs and duds portion of the program. Don't go anywhere. Studs and duds is next on Locked On Pistons postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by Game Time. That's right, the only ticketing app you'll need. It's the Game Time app. Download it for free today. And let me just tell you, it takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to a live event. In fact, it even rewards waiting to the last minute to purchase your ticket, because as the game gets closer, the prices get even lower. How about that, sports fans? You gotta love that. Now, that being said, Game Time is offering 10% off on a special deal, and I love taking advantage of those special deals. Game Time picks, curates it, makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theaters, and so much more. And don't forget about the all-in pricing. I use this every time I use the Game Time app because I like to see the bottom line. So toggle this feature in the app. It shows the total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Everybody loves to know how much you're going to pay. Just give me the bottom line. That's what the all-in pricing feature is all about. Don't forget about the panoramic seat views as well in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what the view from your seat is going to be like. None of those grainy photos, no, high definition, panoramic, not like the other apps that try to deceive you. No, it's all about transparency with the Game Time app. Don't forget, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better price. How about that? That's some peace of mind. And the Game Time ticket coverage, it is the best and most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Don't take my word for it. You got to try it for yourself. So Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONPistons for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, redeem the code LOCKODONPISTONS. That's Locked On Pistons for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and I ask you, what time is it? Game time. All right, final portion of the program. It's the studs and duds portion, and I think we know who the stud is tonight. It's Cade Cunningham. He was really the only one that put forth a solid effort on the box score, that is. And I know, guys, in solid effort, I don't want to take away from the physical effort. And I know guys were putting that in, but it's still worth pointing out that the production that matched the effort was only from Cade Cunningham. Again, 28 points. You got to love that from Cade. He was the only offense. 26 points for Cade, 10 of 21 shooting, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, and 4 of 6 from the foul line, 8 rebounds to go along with 9 assists. Complete effort from Cade Cunningham. He gets our stud for tonight. Now, the duds. This could take a while. I won't go into every single dud there was, but Jaden Ivey's at the top of the list because he was bad. He was flat out bad tonight. 4 of 15 from the line, or from the floor rather, 0 of 4 from the 3-point line, and committed a number of turnovers, 6 turnovers to be exact. It's just not winning basketball. And I think to point the loss squarely on him is too harsh. I won't do that. But, man, you get a better performance from Jaden Ivey, and it is a totally different outcome. Tobias Harris also on my dud list just because he was not able to impact the game. And, again, I mentioned the big second chance points he gave up in the in crunch time when it mattered the most in that fourth quarter. So major bummer there as well. We got to have more from Jaden Ivey and Tobias Harris. But overall, I mentioned this in the opening, and if I want to find something to feel good about concluding the Pistons loss tonight, or concluding our show tonight, it's the fact that this team plays harder. There's a more concerted effort, there's better energy, and they look like a team that frankly cares and gives a what, which we haven't been able to say in years past. I think that's a credit to JB Bickerstaff. That's a credit to the coaching staff collectively, and hopefully the change in the front office. All of it has a trickle down effect into this being a brand new Pistons team. That's my hope. And again, I know it's 11 games in, so we're still figuring some things out. There's still plenty of basketball to be played. I mean, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet, but I think I'm saying I am confident that this team will continue to improve is a very generic statement, but I am. And I'm also certain that JB Bickerstaff is the guy to turn it around. No matter how long it takes, and I don't think it's going to take exceptionally long, but playing hard, having at least a respectable culture and a respectable approach night in and night out, not packing it in and not just being the laughing stock of the league. And I know that's a very, I say it out loud, I'm like, that's a very low bar, but that's where this Detroit Pistons team was upon the hiring of JB Bickerstaff for how bad it was with Monty Williams and company last year. So I leave you with that. We'll continue to stay positive. I know this one doesn't go the Pistons' way, but enough moving in the right direction where, hey, little by little, bit by bit. I know 4-7 right now, but and that was a winnable game, losing to the Rockets 101-99. But yeah, 2-4 at home, this team will start to make some improvements. You get Jalen Duren back, and that will certainly help. You get Thompson healthy, that will help as well. And, who knows what that timeline will be. But point being, this team's not at full strength, but they're battling. And I see this team stockpiling some victories here in the month of November with the way that the schedule is. Hopefully that starts Tuesday night against the Miami Heat, albeit not part of the regular season. That game, a part of the Challengers Cup. Let me just make sure that's what Group Cup stage, NBA Cup. There's so many cups, golly. All the marketing is getting me, all the hoopla, but let's just play some basketball. How about that? No. So that being said, join us for a live Locked On Pistons postcast Tuesday night at the conclusion of that one. And make sure you join us for our Locked On Lions postcast later tonight after Sunday Night Football. Looking forward to that. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, it's a pleasure to be on the air with you. Don't forget to check out Locked On Pistons on the daily with Koo. What a tremendous job Koo Khalil does. I enjoy listening to the Locked On Pistons postcast. In fact, listen to it on the way home from the airport just the other day. I mentioned I've been doing some traveling, so there you have it. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Check out the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter, one stop for your ultimate league and team coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later tonight on a live Locked On Lions postcast. Have a wonderful night.